Hey TCSTV viewers, it's Dave and Evelyn from the camera store, and we have the brand new Fujifilm X-T30.
Now this promises to be a really nice upgrade from the X-T20.
Yeah, they've basically taken the X-T3 and the X-T20, mushed their camera bits together to make an X-T30.
Let's go explore the Plus 15s and see what we can find. So Calgary has this amazing network of hallways basically between buildings. It's called the Plus 15 network, and it connects all the buildings downtown to one another. So you can walk for miles on this, and it's like an entire city you don't see from the streets. And it's a great place to people watch, and there's some really cool architecture here as well. So Evelyn, I know you love your X-T3, and one of the reasons you really love it, and you take it with you almost everywhere we go, is the beautiful sensor out of there.
Yes, I do have it out today because a lot of the internals are the same as the brand new X-T30. Now, starting off with the image sensor, we have a 26 megapixel backside illuminated X-Trans CMOS sensor. And I know that's a mouthful, but basically it means you're going to get beautiful image quality. I love the images out of this camera, so much so this has become pretty much my everyday camera. And I love the photographs. I think it's really pushed me to shoot more.
Yeah, now you got some great stuff. I've seen your stuff from the past and it looks fantastic. With this camera, you do get 425 phase detect autofocus points as well, which gives you real-time face and eye detection. And this is amazing to work with.
Yeah, and the cool thing is they've actually improved the autofocus technology. It works well, but it's not 100%. We're not at a 10 out of 10 yet. And we've seen that in the Sony camera that's in the same price point, the a6400, that's performing a little bit better.
And keep in mind, you have to watch your shutter speeds. This camera does not have in-body image stabilization. So I had the chance to take my two kids out the other night and play around with a little faster frames per second.
Yeah, now this can shoot at 8 frames per second, which is the same as X-T20, but you can push it with the electronic shutter up to 30 frames per second with a 1.25 crop.
But be mindful of rolling shutter.
All right, guys, so we have both the X-T20 as well as X-T30 with us, so we can compare some of the features. Now, ergonomically, the cameras are very similar. The design of it is still very beautiful, but they did change a few little things. So the first one is that the LCD screen is actually a little bit thinner, so it sits against the body a little bit nicer. They've also updated the grip as well as the thumb rest. They've moved the quick button to the thumb rest, and they've also added a joystick.
I do like the new improved grip like this. They've added the Q button right to the top of it, which you can find very easily, and you can refer to it nicely. The joystick works quite well. How did you find for you?
Well, I do find that it's a little bit lower than I would like it, but it's there, and I'm really appreciative of having it, especially for moving around focus points while the camera is up to your eye. I much prefer that over trying to do it on the LCD screen.
Yeah, now how are you finding the electronic viewfinder?
Well, they did make some changes, so now the refresh rate is 100 frames per second, so it's a bit faster. The resolution is also higher. It's 2.36 million dots, which is comparable to the Sony a6400.
Yeah, and for a camera of this size and what I think is sort of designed for, this kind of a walk around, that works fantastic.
Yeah, and I like that you can tilt the screen. Of course, it's not a full flippy screen, but if you are doing some of those high angle shots, at least you can tilt it towards you.
Yeah, some flexibility, some options there for sure.
Yeah, now in terms of the touch screen, it does seem like it's a little bit more responsive. It does work like your smartphone, so you can do some of those gestures like dragging and pinching. I can't believe I'm saying this, but we actually came outside because we're getting too warm in the Plus 15s. A little helpful hint, if you're from Calgary and you're walking around downtown, take the Plus 15s. They're nice and warm. You don't have to wear all your winter gear. We did, and so of course we're roasting in them. But Dave's shooting a couple of photos of this really cool sculpture. I'm gonna get a couple of shots with the X-T3 so you guys can see an example of an X-T3 photo versus X-T30. In keeping with Fujifilm's tradition, they've made this camera very intuitive and easy to use. You can operate it with the dials if you want full manual control, or you can make this camera very automatic.
I really like what they call the SR Plus mode, which stands for scene recognition. What this does, the camera's not just looking for a proper exposure, but it's adjusting all the parameters in the camera to give you the best hit rate.
Yeah, and so if you have a husband or spouse that doesn't know anything about photography, all you have to do is flick that switch on, hand them the camera, and they'll be taking beautiful photos in no time. And of course, you can tell the camera what you want to shoot, whether it's sunsets, fireworks, beach, snow, portrait, enhanced portrait. It has all of those different options, and all you have to do is flick the little dial on the front and you'll get into those modes.
So we've been exploring the Plus 15s for a couple hours now. We're finally have to change a battery on this camera. CPA rating on this battery and this camera is 380 shots.
Yes, it is a fairly demanding processor, and we don't have a very big battery to work with. So if you are buying this camera, you're definitely going to want to get an extra battery or two, especially if you're somewhere traveling. Now, the good side of this is it is chargeable with USB-C. You can also power the camera with USB-C.
So if you carry an external battery pack around, that is definitely an option.
Yeah, you know, the viewfinder is quite small in this camera, and it might be a little bit surprising, especially because so many mirrorless cameras are coming up with these big, beautiful viewfinders. Now, it is the same as the Sony a6400. It's 2.36 million dots in terms of resolution, and it does have a better refresh rate than the X-T30. It's 100 frames per second, and so it doesn't seem laggy. It is nice and clear, but it does look quite small compared to a lot of other cameras.
One of the things we love about Fuji are their film simulation modes.
Yes, they're very stimulating.
And there's multiple modes in this camera.
Yes, of course, some of the favorites, including Acros, Astia, Velvia, Chrome, and their newer one, the Eterna, which gives cinematic look for both photo and video. One thing that was a nice, pleasant surprise with this camera is that it is souped up in terms of video. It has 4K at 30p. You can do up to 120 if you're shooting HD. Now, the only thing is you do have a limit of a 10-minute record time if you are shooting 4K.
Yeah, no, this is a really potent little video camera that a lot of people I think are going to be really impressed with. It does have F-Log. It does have, if you don't want to grade your footage afterwards, it's got this beautiful Eterna profile, which we've grown to love.
Yeah, now you're shooting 420 8-bit in camera, or you can get up to 422 10-bit out to an external recorder. Now we have to give it a hard time because it only has a 2.5 millimeter microphone jack, but you can use an adapter. It also has USB-C, so there are adapters that allow you to do a USB-C to 3.5 millimeter if you want to monitor your sound through headphones. It is a workaround. It would be nice if they had the actual inputs, but it's nice that they've thought of it, and you can always just go and buy some adapters online.
Yeah, I think people are going to be very pleasantly surprised with the video quality of this camera.
It does have a lot of other great advanced video features. You have Zebra if you want to monitor your highlights. Another nice thing that I really like from the X-T3 is the ability to control your autofocus speed as well as the tracking. It does the real-time face detect, but since you're able to control the speed, you can get that really nice focus pull look. So if you're shooting cinematic home videos or something like that, you can really get this sort of nice cinematic quality to it.
Yeah. Now, of course, it does have focus peaking as well if you want to venture into the manual focus side of things when it comes to video.
If you're into doing time lapses, you'll be happy because it does have interval timer shooting. However, it doesn't build the file in camera for you, so you have to do that in software.
So we've had a great day exploring the Plus 15 network of Calgary here at the new X-T30. So the X-T20 was one of my favorite cameras in the Fuji lineup. It represented to me what I thought was the epitome of what a mirrorless enthusiast camera should be. Lightweight, small, full-featured, and this just builds upon it.
Yeah, and of course this is still a very sexy little camera. It's going to come in 3 colors, and it has all the handling that you love from a Fuji camera in a much smaller package. It's 383 grams, but they did make it a nice durable construction with the top and bottom plate being made of aluminum, and everything feels really good about this camera.
Yeah, I mean, we know that the sensor is going to be brilliant. We've already seen the results from that. I mean, it is packed with features. The video features alone are really impressive, and I have to remind myself that the camera is coming in at $11.99 Canadian.
Yeah.
That's a really impressive price point for the feature set.
Yeah, there's a lot of advanced tech. It can push you as a photographer and a videographer, but then it also has a lot of the simple, easy to use controls if you're new to photography, but you want something that just feels really good in your hand.
Yeah, overall, to me, this is a really easy recommendation for a camera to somebody to get into. We also haven't talked lenses. I mean, Fuji has a really great selection of lenses that are light and small and optically really, really nice.
Yeah, and it's nice to be able to adjust your aperture right on the lens and your other manual controls using the dials, and that's something that Fuji has really, really nailed. Now, we hope that you enjoy our review of the X-T30. This is our first impressions of a production unit with full firmware. Thank you, Fuji. But let us know what you think of it by commenting below.
Make sure you follow us on Instagram.
And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, and we'll catch you guys again soon.